the Windemullers have taken over the Attack the Rack podcast. Last week we had a really great interview with basketball coach Steve Windemuller, and today joining the program for the second time is his son Trent Windemuller. Trent now joins the elusive club of recurring guests. I'll post a link to the Steve Windemuller interview in the description, along with the link to the interview from the last time Trent joined the program. Today, Trent and I are going to be looking back a little bit at March Madness, but we are mostly going to be talking about the NBA playoffs that are coming up. Let's do it. Welcome to the Attack the Rack podcast. I am your host, Kurt Van Hecken, and you are tuning in to the #1 rated podcast on the planet, based on the people that rated it #1. The Attack the Rack podcast is brought to you by Get to 2 Media. Attack the Rack fans, do you know what the definition of darkness is? Darkness is the absence of light. Well, what happens when it's dark and you need to see? Guys, we have a great sponsor for today's program. The sponsor is light. When I'm in a situation where I am in the absence of light and can't see, I use light, and you should too. All right, so today we have back with us Trent Windemuller. Last week we had his father, Steve Windemuller, on the program. This week we've got Trent back again. Trent, you are now in the elusive club of recurring guests. That's got to feel pretty special.
Yeah, thank you for having me again, Kurt. Feels great to be back on again. Glad I made the cut.
You betcha. All right, so we are going to get into some NBA playoff stuff today. But first, Trent just finished his first season as a varsity assistant coach at Holland High School. Trent, tell us a little bit how your first year helping out with the varsity at Holland High School here in West Michigan went for you.
I really enjoyed it. This was good. It was a good first year. We didn't win as much as we'd like, but we saw a lot of growth throughout the program, top to bottom, from first game to last game. So we showed a lot of improvement. Kind of some good momentum going into the next few years at Holland will be good.
Sweet. Yeah, I went to a few games too. Definitely saw some bright spots, saw some improvement. Looking forward to next season. You guys got a lot of guys coming back. Also, Trent, today, so we are recording this on Saturday of the 2 Final Four games. This is going to come out Monday. Tonight, then, when this comes out, the night of this coming out will be the national championship game. Trent, how was your March Madness bracket this season?
My bracket was done in the first day.
Yep.
I had Arizona winning the whole thing. And then in a different one, I had Houston winning. That one had a little more life, but I am a big fan of upsets. I like the Cinderella story, so I'm content with not having a good bracket this year with how many upsets there were.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I actually had Arizona. I had two brackets. One of the brackets I had Arizona facing UCLA in the championship game. Obviously, that did not happen. In that bracket, I had 0 total Elite 8 teams. And then in my other bracket, the only team I had in the Elite 8 was Texas.
Okay.
So not a good bracket for me. However, I agree with you. I really love the upsets. And, after the first, second day, whatever it is, when your bracket is completely busted, then I love just rooting on the underdogs from that point on. So I think this year's Final Four is pretty cool. So tonight's Final Four games, we've got Miami playing UConn. What do you think about that game, Trent? Who you liking?
I saw the spread is at 5.5, favoring UConn.
Yes.
I kind of like Miami. UConn has
You like Miami plus the points, or you just like Miami to win money line?
I would take both actually.
Mm-hmm.
I would take Miami money line as well as the
Okay.
points.
Okay.
I like the style. They play hard. They push the pace. UConn does the same, so it should be a high scoring game. The over under is looking at 149.5.
Right.
That's FAU. San Diego State is first. Miami, UConn second.
Okay, and then in that first game, FAU was a 2.5 point underdog. Looks like the over under in that one is quite a bit less at 131.5. What do you like in that game?
I'm gonna go with FAU.
FAU in the points.
Yep, they got a good guard. They got the 7-1 center. San Diego State struggles to score a little bit, but they do defend pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think who'd they play before FAU.
They opened with a good win over Memphis.
Memphis, yep, and then they went and beat Fairleigh Dickinson.
Mm-hmm.
But then, if we're talking defensive wise, Tennessee was a very good defensive team.
Yeah.
They beat them, and then they went and played Kansas State, who also is another good defensive team.
Yes, and Kansas State was one of the hottest teams.
Right.
So
I'm gonna roll with FAU.
All right, that would be pretty crazy. FAU
in the
versus
championship.
University of Miami in the national championship game.
And they should move the location of the championship game to
Florida. Yeah. Well, let's say that does happen. Then who do you like? Who do you like in the national championship?
I gotta go FAU.
All right.
Let's just roll with the underdogs. Let's go FAU.
Yeah, that would be sweet. And then, hey, one other thing in the world of sports before we get into some NBA stuff here. Opening day for baseball was Thursday. My Detroit Tigers lost. They ruined their shot at going undefeated on the first day of the season. Trent, are you a baseball guy at all?
I think as I get older, I'm going further away from baseball. I don't mind going to watch baseball games, but watching on TV is not for me.
Do you feel like you've got enough knowledge to make any crazy predictions for us?
Nah, but I'm gonna go San Diego Padres to win the World Series.
All right. Maybe you can place a little future on that.
A little future on the Padres. I wonder what that looks like. Let's see. Houston plus 600, Mets plus 750, Yankees plus 750, Dodgers plus 800, Braves plus 900, the Padres 10-1, Blue Jays 13-1, Phillies 17-1. So I'm gonna go with the Padres at 10-1.
All right. Well, hey, best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank you.
If that happens, let's not forget that you were on the Attack the Rack podcast back on April 1, making that prediction. Right. If it goes your way, maybe you can throw the program a little bit of scratch.
Of course.
All right, Trent, let's get into some NBA here. NBA playoffs are going to be starting in the next couple weeks.
I think.
There's maybe 4 or 5 regular season games left.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we live here in West Michigan, and kind of the local teams here, definitely the Detroit Pistons and the Chicago Bulls. Tell us a little bit how the seasons for the Bulls and the Pistons went.
The Pistons have officially tanked as of 3 months ago, so they are dead last in the league, looking for the first pick.
Oh my goodness.
So we can draft Victor. 16-61 is not going to cut it in the East.
Wow,
currently
that is awful.
39 games back out of first place.
Unbelievable.
They shut down Cade. Cade's been shut down for a while. I think he's only played 12 games.
Wow.
So Cade's been out.
Yep.
Then we traded for Wiseman, the dude who was on Golden State. I don't know why, because we just drafted a center. Anyways, the Bulls. The Bulls are looking at the 10 spot this year. They are 37-40. I don't think Lonzo has played very much, but their young talent has been pretty solid. Obviously anchored by Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, but they're decent. The Bulls are decent. They'll probably have to get in that what is it, the play-in game or whatever they do now.
Hey, and I was gonna ask, can you kind of talk to us a little bit and explain how the whole play-in tournament works?
The NBA play-in. The number 7 seed will face the 8 seed in each conference. The winner of that game becomes the 7 seed in the playoffs.
Yep.
The 9 and the 10 will play each other, and then the winner of that game will play the loser of the 7-8 game. Wow. Okay, so 7-8 play for the 7 seed. The loser of the 7-8 game plays the winner of the 9-10 game for the 8 seed. Yep.
Crazy. All right, who are the teams that as of right now are kind of battling? Who are the 7 through 10s in each conference?
Okay, in the Eastern Conference we have the Brooklyn Nets are sitting at 6. The Miami Heat are sitting at 7. Those guys are 2 games apart. The Atlanta Hawks are 38 and 39, which is 2 games away from the 7th spot. The Raptors are the 9 spot at 38 and 39, tied with the Hawks. And the Bulls are 37 and 40. So the 7 through 10 seed are separated by 3 games, which isn't too bad.
Right.
So those could fluctuate as well. Also surprising that the Nets, they get rid of arguably the 2 best players in the NBA, and they start winning games. So that's interesting as well.
Yeah, okay, and then in the West?
And in the West, we have the Golden State Warriors are in the 6th spot, 41 and 37. The Lakers are 39 and 38. The Pelicans are 39 and 38. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 39 and 39. And the Oklahoma City Thunder are 38 and 40.
Okay.
And just a half game out of the 10th spot, you have the Dallas Mavericks, which are 37 and 40. I mean, even the Jazz are at the 12th spot at 36 and 41. So you're looking at, I mean, even from 6th seed to the 12th seed is 4.5 games.
Okay.
So that's really not too bad either. A lot of fluctuation in there.
Yeah.
7-8 could flip. 9-10 could flip. 7 to 10 is only a game and a half.
So it's still kind of wide open.
So it is pretty wide open.
Yeah, I just really struggle with a team that's under 500 being able to play in the playoffs, but it is what it is.
Yep. And that's just kind of been the way NBA's kind of looked recently.
Yeah.
Especially with everyone who sits out and injuries.
Yes, and I want to get into that in a little bit.
You just never know what team you're going to play.
Right. Hey, there was a couple kind of significant, I mean, there's a handful of things, the significant things that happened during the season. One of them, obviously, was LeBron James breaking Kareem's scoring record.
Yep.
And then, of course, then again, the debate reemerges: who's the GOAT? Michael Jordan, LeBron James. You know, you and I kind of grew up in different eras. You know, I'm growing up watching Michael Jordan play. You know, I definitely lean more towards Michael Jordan, and not to get too deep into this because I think the conversation is pretty cliche, pretty stale. And again, you know, we've talked about on previous episodes, to try to compare players that play in different eras is not really fair. But anyway, what do you kind of lean towards in that debate?
I agree that it should be based off of eras, because I think if you put even those top players in the other era into this era, I think they would thrive just as much as some of the best players in the league currently. Even like Bird, if you put Bird in the league right now, he'd probably be one of the leading scorers in the league. It's just a different type. It is a bit of a softer league, which has trickled down all the way through all levels of every basketball team. So I think it's hard to argue those two. LeBron is great. Jordan's great. It's if you go based off winning and championships, obviously Jordan. But if you go off of time played, I mean, LeBron's been in the league longer. Didn't go to college, so there's some different. Yeah, just numbers wise, it kind of shades LeBron.
Right, and I think that if you're if you're going to argue, well, he's the all-time leading scorer, so he's the best. That to me, that's 100% irrelevant.
Right.
Because LeBron has played so many more seasons than Jordan.
Yeah.
I think you got to look at, even maybe looking at scoring average isn't really fair. Maybe you got to even break it down into like scoring per 48 minutes,
right,
to see who is the better scorer. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head with someone like Larry Bird, who, as we've talked about in previous episodes too. I think he's like all-time, on the all-time three-point list. I think he's like 282.
Did he play his whole career with the 3-point line?
He did,
okay.
but he's shooting maybe 3 threes a game.
Right, it's
whereas
evolved.
Today,
right.
He'd probably be shooting 12 threes a game.
Yes.
So not only would he be definitely top 5 in 3-pointers made if he played in this era, but think about how much more higher his scoring average would be.
Right, and I think you could, if you took Bird and put him in today's game, you would look at him as like a Klay Thompson. I know he did more than that, but just shooting ability-wise, I think you could put those guys close together.
Right.
Like even Reggie Miller. If you put Reggie Miller in this era, just the way he runs off screens, it's kind of Curry-like.
Yeah.
And you could just add in another 7 to 10 more attempts a game from deep.
Yeah.
I think it changes numbers quite a bit.
So, obviously as we're talking, a couple things kind of on how much the game has changed. Another significant moment in this year's season was a game played a month or 6 weeks ago or so between the Clippers and the Kings, second all-time highest scoring game in NBA history. And when you compare it to the highest scoring game in NBA history, which was back in 1983 between the Pistons and the Nuggets, that game went into 3 overtimes. I think the Kings-Clippers went into 2 overtimes. But there's a major difference in those 2 games. In the Pistons-Nuggets game, there was a total of 4 3-pointers attempted.
Wow.
Total attempted.
That's wild.
2 were made. In the Kings-Clippers game a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago, or a month ago or so, there was 86 3-pointers attempted.
That's a lot.
44 made.
It's a lot.
So, I mean, the difference is crazy, but yet, I don't have the specific data on this, but obviously in today's game, there's way more 3-pointers made, but if the scores aren't any higher on average than they've ever been.
Right.
So, it's almost like, okay, you're shooting more threes. You're obviously missing more threes, and on those possessions, what if you would have try to get an easy bucket?
Right.
And that kind of leads me into what I want to talk about next. Like, there's kind of some people think the Steph Curry 3-point effect has hurt the game. Some say that it's helped the game. Obviously, when you're watching someone like Steph Curry play and he's making all these threes, it's pretty exciting, pretty entertaining. So you could argue, well, it's enhanced the game. I feel, and this is not Steph Curry's fault at all, but I feel like it has really, really hurt the game of basketball. Again, not his fault, but I think what has happened now is that the style of play from the high school level, college level up now is where we're seeing so many threes attempted. The difference between Steph Curry and all these high school and college kids that are shooting, a ton of threes is that Steph Curry works on shooting threes and put in all kinds of time shooting threes and shoots it at a very high rate. Whereas all these other players coming up now definitely do not shoot with that same accuracy. In that regard, I think it's hurt the game. Again, seriously, obviously no fault of Steph Curry.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Even looking at this box score from that Clippers-Kings game, Kings shot 41 threes, and they were almost 44%. Like, that's shooting at a pretty good clip.
Yeah, it is.
And then the Clippers, were 26 of 45, almost at 58%. Like
It's incredible.
That's incredible numbers. And then to get to your point of Curry changing the game, I think he has a big part of it just because of the frequency at how he shoots the ball, and he's so consistent with shooting, but everything they're not always like the prettiest. He'll pull from 35, he'll come off and shoot a fadeaway. He'll do different things, and I think the younger kids who think that they can shoot like Curry, they don't understand what has to go in to being able to shoot even close to what Curry shoots like. And I think that's the biggest deception of the two. I think the kids now with social media and all their highlight tapes, and they make 2 shots in a game, and then they go post it and think that they're the greatest. It affects a lot more than what we think. I think it's more of a mental and a self evaluation of like where you're really at with your game and developing it in the right way, rather than just showing up to the gym and going through the motions and shooting some shots, rather than actually going through game rep, game speed. Because if you watch Curry work out, he'll go through his like form shooting and his stationary shooting, and then he gets into off the move, off screens, off back screens, off flares, and then it turns into everything game like. So him being able to turn it on and turn it off, and getting into the gym and working out with a purpose and shooting with a purpose, that makes him the shooter that he is. So I think it's understanding that you have to put up. I mean, how many shots do you think Curry shoots in a workout? Somewhere between
1,000? Oh,
yeah, 500 to 1,000 maybe. Depends like what he's going for. But I just think it's an understanding for kids now to understand that it won't just happen overnight. Like even when Curry wasn't really getting recruited out of high school, ended up at Davidson, put in the work that he needed to become the best version of himself, and then that evolved him into getting NBA training, and then that was after he went off at the NCAA tournament. Because if he didn't go off at the NCAA tournament, he probably wouldn't be getting those looks to get to the NBA. So I think 100%. I just think there's so much work that goes into being able to shoot like that and being consistent at it that is kind of getting lost. It's lost in space with this era of basketball.
Yep. The reason that Steph Curry can take the shots that he takes and shoot from the distance that he shoots is because he can make those shots.
Correct.
And if you're a young player and you are watching Steph Curry do that, that does not mean that, I can now do that, unless you're going to put in that kind of time and be able to also consistently make those shots. And I hear so many times, high school 3-point shooting stats after games. 3 for 20, 4 for 22, 5 for 20. It's really really bad. And you got to think, like, what if on all those possessions, or a handful of those possessions, instead of taking a 3 that you miss, what if you score 2 points on that possession?
Right.
Think about how much more points you can score in a game. I don't know.
And then you can differentiate between, like at Holland, we talk about good shots versus great shots. It's like if we're taking only 12 great threes a game and we're shooting at a 30% clip, like it doesn't translate as well compared to if it's a good one, then try to get a better one.
Yeah.
So that's like the next understanding of getting the best possible shot.
Right.
Like I'm good with wide open threes, but if there's a driving lane or maybe you missed 8 in a row, maybe let's try to go get to the free throw line or get a different look to get us going in that form.
Right. All right. So you mentioned a little bit ago too, like the load management that's going on in the NBA and these guys taking games off, and it bugs me. I don't understand how you're getting paid to do a job and when you're not injured,
why you feel like you can just not play.
Right.
I know it's cliche to say, but it's 100% true. You've got people. I mean, these guys are taking home games off.
Right.
You've got fans coming to the arena and spending a lot of money to see you play, and then you're gonna take a night off. And then these guys play like the victims, like, oh, poor me. It's just, it's ridiculous.
Yep, I agree. I agree, and I think, I mean, even when like you look back to the other era where it's much more physical, they don't make as much money, but it was for like the love of the game.
Yeah,
I think that has changed a little bit with this era of basketball, where any type of sprained ankle, you're out for 2 weeks. Any type of bruise or soreness or whatever, then you sit out. And it kind of makes it soft.
Yeah.
Because it does also trickle down. Like any type of bump or bruise, it's like, oh, I need a break, or
yep,
I need to come out, or whatever. And just that toughness part. I don't know. I'm sure they're tough, but it's just when you make multi-millions to play a game of basketball, I expect you to play as much as possible.
Yeah, it's like any other job.
Right.
You're paid to do a job, then do the job. You come to an agreement with the organization you're playing with. It's an agreement. They're going to give you X amount of dollars, and you're going to give them playing the game.
Right. Because it's not like they refund you your ticket.
No.
If you're going to see your favorite player play and he's not playing because he's on load management.
Yeah. Here's what I think we should do. Okay, your contract, let's say, is $20 million for the season.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you take that $20 million and you divide it by the 82 games, and now you've got a total per game that you make.
Mm-hmm.
And now what you do is every time, every game you play, you get that amount of money. So if you don't play, you don't get paid unless you're injured.
Like an actual injury. Like
Yes.
if you're sitting out for like,
if a doctor says you can't play, then
right.
then I would say you should still get paid for that game.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It would probably limit some of them from sitting out as much as they do.
Oh yeah.
So I think that would help for sure. I think it would help get those guys playing as much as possible. Yeah, and it's been the same number of games for how long? I don't even know.
I saw something. I'm not sure if it was Jordan's last season with the Wizards or if it was, one of his last seasons. He's 40 years old, played 82 games.
Right.
I don't remember. They even showed how many minutes that he played that season. More minutes than every single NBA player has played this season.
Yeah.
At age 40.
At 40.
End of his career, playing for the Washington Wizards.
Right.
For crying out loud.
Yeah.
And he's still playing every single game.
Yep. I think it's a love for the game kind of thing, and the competitiveness, and just like, I think it's more internal. I just think it means more to some who make that kind of money than others.
Yeah, I know. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It all comes down to how much it means to you.
Right.
All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more of the Attack the Rack podcast. And welcome back to the Attack the Rack podcast. Real Estate Ryan has been in real estate for over 20 years and can help you with all your real estate needs. Realtor Ryan has helped me in my journey in learning about real estate, and he can do the same for you, whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn more about real estate in general. Ring Realtor Ryan.
And as we kind of look ahead here and start to kind of preview and predict some things for this upcoming playoffs, I would think for you as our NBA analyst today, it makes it a little bit difficult to kind of predict some things when, during the course of the NBA season. Do you really know who are the better teams because of all this load management, guys taking games off, when now you flip the switch and now you're into the playoffs, and now they're not going to be taking games off, obviously.
Right.
So it might be a little bit difficult to kind of really know who's who.
Yep. And I think
based on the regular season.
I think you kind of have an idea. Obviously, your top dogs. Obviously, Milwaukee in the East. Obviously, Boston in the East. And then the surprise this year kind of has been Philly, the 76ers. They've been really good. Embiid's MVP-like.
Yeah.
The other one is Cleveland, the Cavaliers. Bunch of young talent. And then they added Donovan Mitchell. They could surprise some people just based off of size and the young firepower. And like I know it's a big thing in the NBA where it's like, oh, you're still too young, you don't have enough experience to win yet. I don't really understand that part of the NBA. Maybe it's something more than that. But yeah, I would say, I mean, even like you look at Milwaukee, like Chris Middleton's hardly played this year, and he's their second best player, and they're 55 and 22.
Yeah,
it's like, so they're still really good. They could probably come out of the East. Well, the East is a toss-up between 4 teams, and I'm going to throw Cleveland in there.
Okay.
Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, Cleveland. And then in the West, Booker's kind of been in and out. Chris Paul's kind of been in and out. The Warriors, Curry's been in and out. Andrew Wiggins has been MIA since game 1, and he was a big part of what helped them win. So Wiggins has been gone. Don't know if he's coming back because he had that whole rumor was that his best friend slept with his wife and then had a kid, and then now it's all jacked up. But I don't know if that's true. So Golden State, if Wiggins comes back, you can put Golden State. I mean, I don't think you can ever count out Golden State.
Well, that was one place I wanted to start was with Milwaukee. They are the reigning champs. So obviously you're thinking they do have a pretty good chance of repeating.
Yeah,
decent chance.
I think if the NBA wants them to repeat, they'll repeat. I don't know. I'm not sure depth wise. I know their first 5 are really good. Let's see. I don't know. They kind of fall off towards the end. Yeah. I mean, they got some older guys: Goran Dragic, Jay Crowder, a little older, Drew Holiday. They got Joe Ingles as well. So they kind of got some middle-aged guys. I don't know. It depends if Giannis can put the team on his back. Yeah. But I don't know. I kind of like Philly coming out of the East.
Okay. Now let's switch over to the West. The Golden State Warriors have been a contender for years now. What the heck happened to them this year? Were they one of the teams that are battling for a play-in tournament, or are they in?
They are in the 6th seed right now.
Okay. What the heck happened to them?
I think Wiggins has a huge part.
Okay.
A huge part of it, because now they have some like 2nd year, 3rd year guys with like Kuminga and who's the other guy they picked up? They picked up one other guy as well that's been playing a lot of minutes.
Okay.
Oh, DiVincenzo from Villanova.
Yep.
He plays quite a bit. So I think they're missing that like swing 3 spot.
Okay.
Obviously they got rid of Wiseman, which ended up being probably the Warriors' worst draft pick in a while. But then they got this new guy from Vermont, Anthony Lamb. Okay. This guy makes $253,000 a year. And he's good. He's really good. And he kind of fits that role in that 3-4 spot. I don't know. I wouldn't count out the Warriors. We know what Curry and Clay and those dudes can do in the playoffs.
Right. So but then you gotta look at like who they're going to be playing now. If they're a 6th seed, they're going to have a battle in that first round. Is that going to wear them out too much? I don't know.
True.
It's different. It'd be different if they were like a 2nd or 3rd seed.
So they would play the Kings.
Okay.
Which is Kings haven't made the playoffs in like 20 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Speaking of the Kings, we already mentioned them once. They're participating in the 2nd highest NBA scoring game of all time. But speaking of the Kings, I don't know if this is the last time they're in the playoffs, but
was it like Mike Bibby and them?
Yeah.
Vladdy and Doug Christie.
The Lakers, I think it was the Kings. The Kings were up in the series like maybe 3-2, and then
was it against the Lakers?
Yeah, it was the Lakers. I know.
So it was like Derek Fisher.
Yeah. Kobe,
Robert
Shaq.
Horry. that era.
The reason I bring that up is because did you see the Tim Donaghy documentary on Netflix about?
Is that the official?
Yeah,
Was that a big part of his?
he didn't ref that game, but he used that game as an example of how the NBA, definitely has an influence on the officiating in a way where they want a team to win, right? They want the Lakers to keep playing rather than the Kings, because who has the bigger market?
True.
So they come in and they say, hey, here's how we want the game called.
Game 6?
Yes.
Okay. Donahue says, there's no doubt in my mind that the Sacramento Kings should have a ring on their finger.
Yep.
They were the best team in the league that year. That Game 6 was definitely a situation where towards the end of the game, they got robbed. So that's coming from an NBA official.
Yes. Now, he's the NBA official that went to prison for gambling on games. But if you watch the documentary, and I actually saw him or listened to a podcast. He was on PMT, the PMT podcast, part of my Take podcast within the last couple of years, telling the story too. So what it seemed like the narrative was that he was betting on games, and then he was making calls in his favor to win his bets.
Yep.
And that, according to him, is not what happened.
Oh.
What he was really doing is, before the games, the NBA comes in and meets with the officials and says, hey, here's how we want you to call the game tonight.
Oh, wow.
So then what he would do is he would take that information, knowing how the game was going to be called, look at the line, and he could have a pretty good idea then of how the outcome was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then he would place he did some gambling on games, but more so he was then giving that information to some guys, and they were just giving him a flat rate. They were paying him per game that he gave them information.
The info, right?
And that's where he got himself in trouble.
Huh.
But is he lying? Is he telling the truth? Is he lying? Did he actually make calls based on hoping to win the bets? Well, the evidence points to him telling the truth, because year after year after year, he was one of the highest rated officials. So if he was blowing calls or making phantom calls to improve his chances of winning his bets, he wouldn't be rated as one of the top officials.
Very true.
So,
yep. Do you think it still happens in today's game?
Yes, yeah, I do. And you kind of hinted at that earlier. And that's what made me think of that Kings Lakers Game 6.
Yeah. Where
Donaghy, obviously he's speaking out and using that as an example of how the NBA influences games. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know why it wouldn't have not been going on anymore.
And it's like the guy now, Scott Foster. Scott Foster is historically known as a horrible referee in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look up the Chris Paul stat. So there's a Chris Paul stat when Scott Foster refs Chris Paul's games. And it is eye-opening. Let's see.
While you're looking that up, too, Tim Donaghy, too, in the documentary on Netflix, talked about how, guys would, hold grudges against players. And certain refs back then would definitely pick on Allen Iverson and call, I forget the example he gave. Some ref, one game, just called him for carrying, all night long, out of the blue. It's not like Allen Iverson all of a sudden that game was doing anything differently. But he had a vendetta against Iverson.
Out to get him.
So, but they were legit calls. He was carrying. It's just that those never got called except for that night.
It's just like when they decide that it's breaking the carry rule, then they start blowing it. All right, here we go. Chris Paul. Chris Paul, in his career playoff games while officiated by Scott Foster, is 2-15. One of those wins Chris Paul was out due to COVID restrictions. So after losing 12 straight, he was 0-12 in his playoff career with Scott Foster reffing. There's been 2 wins, so he's been 2-2 in the last 4.
That's something to think about. Is that if this is now becoming kind of public knowledge and becoming a story, I could totally see now the opposite happening. The NBA coming and saying, and if Scott Foster's crew is now officiating a Chris Paul played game,
he wins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's keep an eye on that.
So now So now maybe Chris Paul, Suns to win the 2023 NBA championship with Scott Foster by their side.
And that does remind me too of a specific example that Tim Donaghy gave. Kobe Bryant, according to Phil Jackson, was not getting calls when he was attacking the rack, and he was going in, getting fouled, and they weren't calling it.
He's got to get to 2.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got to get to 2 feet.
But exactly. So Phil Jackson sends like a 30-minute tape to the NBA showing all these clips of Kobe Bryant getting fouled and it not getting called. So before Tim Donaghy's crew was going to ref a Lakers game, NBA comes in, says, "Hey guys, we're not telling you to make up calls for Kobe, but if he gets fouled, you better call it."
Mm-hmm.
So now Tim Donaghy knows that tonight we're going to be blowing a lot of fouls in favor of Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant's going to probably go to the line 20 times tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the line? If Kobe Bryant's going to the line tonight 20 times, obviously now okay, the Lakers are going to score X amount more points.
Right.
They're probably going to either, if they're favored, they're going to cover, and if they're the underdog, they're gonna win probably, and then again, he's taking that information.
Right. Do you think have prop bets always been a thing? Have player prop bets always been a thing, or is it a recent? Yeah.
Sure.
Because that if they're we're gonna start calling fouls for Kobe, all right, I'm gonna go bet Kobe's free throw over, or something along those lines. If there were,
and I'm sure that's a perfect example of what these guys are doing.
Right.
And then now when you bring up the Chris Paul thing, now you got to wonder, okay, what's the over under on Chris Paul free throw attempts?
Right. We're gonna have to start taking that.
Or
just start betting Suns money line in the playoffs
exactly.
when Scott Foster's reffing.
Scott Foster's reffing. Exactly.
There we go.
Okay, so let's get back here to looking at this year's playoffs. You mentioned Andrew Wiggins as I guess we don't know, is he injured or is he just
no? He's just MIA.
Yeah, MIA.
Yep.
Any other important players in the playoff teams that could be affected with injury?
Chris Middleton. He's been out for a while. I think he came back and then he got hit in the face.
Okay.
He's been out. Celtics seem pretty healthy. I believe Brogdon's healthy. That's a great pickup for them as well as with Marcus Smart and Brogdon together. Philly's been healthy. Philly and the Celtics, I would say, those two are good. Both those teams are very good. Let's see, Memphis, obviously the whole Ja Morant gun situation. He's back.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about the Grizzlies. The Suns, Chris Paul, KD, Booker.
Yeah.
KD's been battling. Well, he rolled his ankle in pregame warm-ups or whatever. So I think he'll be back for playoffs. They're probably just making sure he's good.
Right.
They're probably not too worried about who they play. They would. So Lakers Pelicans playing game at the 7-8. The winner of that game is the 7. So then the Suns would end up playing whoever the 8. No, whoever the 5 is. Clippers. That's not too bad. Clippers are kind of good though.
Yeah.
With Westbrook now. Westbrook's good again. Out of the LeBron. Out of the LeBron.
Could have predicted that was going to go so well.
Yeah, I know. And the whole Patrick Beverly thing. And I don't think there's any two major injuries. It would be if Andrew Wiggins comes back ready to play basketball, the Warriors are hard to bet against.
Yeah.
They just are. They know how to do it. They know the right way, and they've done it a lot recently. I don't think there's any major injuries, though. It depends with LeBron and AD. Those two are, you sneeze on them and they'll get hurt. Other than that, I think they're nothing too crazy.
All right, well, let's now narrow it down. Now, you got to give me who you think's coming out of the East and who you think's got to be who's coming out of the West. Who are we going to see in the NBA Finals this year?
All right, 2023 NBA Finals.
Yes.
Coming out of the East, I'm going to take the Philadelphia 76ers.
Okay.
To play the Western Conference champion, who is going to be the Phoenix Suns.
Okay. All right, I like it.
And then the 76ers are going to be NBA World Champions.
All right, bringing the championship back to Philly. They could really use a championship after the Eagles
and the Phillies.
Yep. And I believe also
hockey.
I'm not sure about hockey, but a really good friend of mine, in fact, Peter Hunsenberger, who's been the all-time leader for appearances on the Attack the Rack podcast. I don't even know who the MLS team is in Philly, but I think they were in a similar situation too, maybe, where they lost.
That's tough.
So they could really use a winner.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess they're due. They're due. And I think Embiid's I didn't like him very much at first, getting in the league, but he's been dominant. He has been dominant. So I'm going to go,
Okay, I like it.
And I think Embiid's going to win the MVP as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that too. Who you got for MVP?
Yep, Embiid or Jokic would be back-to-back, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go Embiid.
Okay. And then one other thing I want to know, is there any underdogs that you like? That maybe not necessarily go all the way, but maybe make a splash this year?
Yeah, out of the East, I'm going to have to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay.
Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. Who's the big fellow they got from USC? I can't think of his name. He's good as well. Okay, so I'm going to go with the Cavaliers out of the East as a sleeper. I can't even count the Warriors as a sleeper at the 6th seed, so that doesn't count.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that.
That's kind of tough. I'm going to go with the Sacramento Kings.
Okay.
Even though they're the 3 seed, they haven't been in the playoffs in a long time. De'Aaron Fox is a beast. Sabonis is a beast. So I'm going to go, we're going to go Kings, sleeper, Cavs, sleeper.
All right. So Kings and Cavs, sleepers, but you're going 76ers to defeat the Phoenix Suns in the NBA Finals.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Trent. Well, hey, thank you for dropping some NBA knowledge on us today.
Of course.
Always appreciate it. Appreciate your time. As you know from being a guest before, I like to kind of end the program asking a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
We've already done the standard, tell me your 5 favorite NBA players. So what I want to do this time is I want to know if you were going to put together a starting 5.
I am. I'm prepared today as well. I'm prepared.
Starting 5 from the NBA, any player, any team. Who would your all 2023 starting 5, both conferences, who would that be?
All right, here we go. At the 1, Damian Lillard.
Okay.
At the 2, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. At the 3, I'm going to go with Jason Tatum. At the 4, I'm going to go with Giannis. And at the 5, I'm going to go with Joel Embiid.
All right, that is definitely quite a squad you got there, Trent.
Yep.
That would probably be a squad that could probably win the NBA championship.
They could, with a couple pieces off the bench as well.
Of course. Yeah. Always needed. All right, and then Trent, last question. I know you're very much into golf. I know you play a lot of golf. I know you're a golf fan. Also coming up here, what is it, this week?
Yes, this coming weekend.
Yeah. Yep. The Masters In regards to golf, let's say you're going to go out and play in a foursome, and you got to pick 3 golfers to join you.
Okay.
They can be PGA Tour, they can be Live Tour, doesn't matter.
Oh, we're adding the live.
Yeah, you can pick anyone off the list.
All right.
Who would those 3 golfers be that you would want to play around with?
Okay. Can I do 1 PGA, 1 like? Can I do 3 PGA, 3 live?
Yeah. Let's
All right.
again, and I had to tell your dad this last week too, and I think I've had to tell other guests. There's no rules.
No rules.
On the Attack the Rack podcast.
As long as you get to 2.
Yes, exactly. You got to get to 2.
All right. Let's go PGA. I'm going to go PGA first.
Okay.
And we're going to go with Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, and Rory McIlroy.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. I hate to tell you, I don't think you would win.
That's okay.
Okay.
I'm there for the vibes.
Right.
Yeah.
But who do you think would win out of that person?
If they all played at the Masters?
You're going out, you're playing around the golf. Sure, we'll say you're playing at Augusta.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you and those 3.
All one-on-one?
Yep.
One?
Yep. Who's gonna end up winning?
Oh, not me.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Not you.
They have to give me
no offense.
They have to give me like
win.
150 strokes. Rory McIlroy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And then, all right, 3 dudes you want to play with on the Live Tour.
On the Live Tour. Let's go with Cameron Smith, the Aussie.
Yep.
Harold Varner III. And Ian Poulter.
Okay. All right.
I got to see the pants. That's all I ask.
He'd be I'm sure, a lot of comic relief during that round too.
Yeah.
All right. So, who's winning? Again, unfortunately,
Varner.
you don't have a chance. But who's winning?
Harold Varner.
Okay. All right.
That's my guy.
All right.
Harold Varner.
All right, Trent. Well, again, thank you so much for joining the program today, dropping some NBA knowledge on us. Enjoy Final Four games, which are tonight. We'll see when this podcast airs. We're going to see if your Final Four predictions came true or not. If not, be prepared to be lit up in the comments.
Nope, I'm ready.
All right.
Yep.
And then, enjoy the Final Four games. Enjoy the national championship. Enjoy the NBA playoffs. Enjoy the Masters. A lot of good things.
A lot of sports coming up.
Baseball's getting underway.
That's right.
Enjoy.
Yeah, thank you. I think your next niche category needs to be F1 racing.
Oh.
I think you need to start getting into some F1.
Do you have knowledge in F1 to drop on us? Because we could have you back and talk F1. I know nothing about F1.
We can get into F1.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. We can get into some F1.
All right. I know your dad's into the Netflix series.
Well, you finally started watching it. I was trying to get him to do it a while ago, but yeah, it's a good stuff. It is.
He said he got into the docu-series, but he did not. He still doesn't really watch the actual F1.
He said he won't watch the race, but he'll just watch all the insider stuff. So that doesn't make much sense. But yeah, it is. If you're not an early bird on Sundays, it is a little difficult unless the race is in the U.S. But they are adding more races in the U.S., which is it's becoming more of a popular sport. Actually, they are going to Las Vegas this year, and the main straightaway is the Strip.
No way.
Yeah, so I've been kind of looking at tickets.
Yeah.
Probably won't get tickets, but
maybe next year.
It would be fun to go to Vegas and be there for it. So F1, good.
All right, thanks, Trent.
Thank you, Kurt.
Please subscribe to the Attack the Rack YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you are updated every time we post. Also, please like, comment, and share.